Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Alina Islam, and I'm a mining analyst here at Red Cloud Securities. I'm very pleased to introduce Bunker Hill Mining to you. They are looking to restart the past-producing Bunker Hill zinc, lead, silver mine in Idaho. To give you an overview of the company as well as discuss upcoming plans, we have with us Sam Ash, President and CEO. Once Sam's presentation is over, we will conclude with a Q&A session. So please put your questions into the chat box and we'll get through as many as we can at the end. Before we get started, I do need to mention the fine print. For Bunker Hill Mining, there may be some forward-looking statements made on this webinar. Please read the cautionary note on page 2 of the Bunker Hill corporate presentation located on the company's website. For Red Cloud Securities, I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. We note that this webinar does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own professional advice before investment. Please see our most recent research located on our website for Bunker Hill specific disclosures. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Sam. Please take it away.
Thank you, Elena. And it's a pleasure to be speaking with everybody this afternoon. I want to start by just talking about the Bunker Hill as a company, what our strategy is, what our focus is, and why we believe that Bunker Hill is uniquely positioned to be a up-and-coming, growing junior mining producer in the next 12 months. So our company, we are looking to build a multi-asset mid-tier mining company focusing on delivering a mix of precious and base metals to the North American supply chain. And we're looking to do that as a first step to restart the historic Bunker Hill mine in the Silver Valley of Northern Idaho. As a brownfield restart, we've been able to bring the project from a position where we only had a lease with an option to purchase to the doorstep of production in just under a 5-year period. The project is significantly de-risked at this point with construction well advanced and maintains significant upside growth potential and opportunity. I want to talk a little bit about the history of the Bunker Hill mine and mining in the Silver Valley in Northern Idaho. The mine is located in the Silver Valley, one of the best silver mining districts that the world's ever seen, over 1.2 billion ounces produced to date, with a long future in front of it yet to go. The Bunker Hill mine, for its part that it played in that, was the only vertically integrated mining operation in the Silver Valley, meaning that it was large enough to support a lead smelter and an electrolytic zinc plant for much of its 100-year operating life. The mine was closed in the early 1980s due to environmental performance reasons and a changing regulatory environment in the United States. And the site has been in the US EPA Superfund program for the last 40 years, undergoing rehabilitation and environmental remediation. In April 2018, there was a consent decree reached that settled all the historic environmental liability, which really paved the way for the Bunker Hill Mining Company to come in, acquire the asset, and quickly move through the development stages to where we are now on the doorstep of production. Historically speaking, the mine produced 165 million ounces of silver, making it the third largest silver producer in the Silver Valley, and over 5 million tons of base metals in the form of lead and zinc. Our current asset sits with a mineral endowment of 14 million tons in total mineral inventory, with 7 million tons in measured and indicated and a further 6.9 million tons in inferred mineralization. We expect through a targeted and focused resource conversion drilling that we'll achieve at least a 75% conversion rate of that inferred mineralization. That mineral, the measured and indicated portion of our resource, supports a 5-year mine plan on a land package that has over 400 claims expanding over 5,800 acres that are all patented and on private land. meaning that we are able to and have been able to advance at a relatively fast pace through the regulatory process to the point where we are now ready to enter into production in the second half of 2025. A little bit more about the resource conversion program. We have concluded a resource conversion drilling program, and we're in the process of working through the results and analyzing the impact that will have on our resource, in particular the conversion of inferred into the measured and indicated category, looking to extend the mine life. In addition to that, there is an enormous exploration potential that exists here at Bunker Hill. In particular, one area that we're excited about initiating a exploration program on in the near term is a high-grade silver opportunity immediately adjacent to our existing mine workings. When we were looking at some of the historical data, we identified an area that indicates that there is a distinct possibility that a previously unknown silver vein exists within close proximity, approximately 130 feet from existing mine workings. The drill holes were drilled late in the mine's life and have bonanza grade silver, in particular one intercept 5 feet of over 40 ounce per ton indicates that the opportunity to bring significant amounts of silver into the mine plan and into the resource in the near term. We're looking to start drilling on that as soon as the rehabilitation reaches that area, which is expected to be later in Q1 of this year. In addition to the 1,800 ton a day restart plan that we are in the process of building right now, we're already looking to the future and looking to expand production from 1,800 tons a day to 2,500 tons a day. That would take the form of a new portal extending from the mill location and processing facility down to the 16 level at the bottom of the Quill New Guard resource, at which point we envisage putting in electrified haulage in the form of a conveyor and moving the crushing facilities underground, thereby transforming the material haulage at Bunker Hill from diesel to electric haulage. We have a distinct advantage being located in the Pacific Northwest, specifically northern Idaho, in the fact that the largest component of the electrical supply is hydro and comes at a very low cost to us, right around 4.5 cents a kilowatt hour. When we think about longer term value creation, we think about it in 3 layers. One, converting the existing 7 million tons of inferred mineralization, bringing it up the value chain into measured and indicated, and subsequently into resource and reserve, followed by near mine exploration, which we spoke about and are already looking at with a high-grade silver opportunity, and then further through looking to explore the larger claim package that we have. Right now, only about a quarter of the existing mineral endowment and claim package is within the historic mine footprint, which means that 75% of our claim package has had no modern exploration on it. We have done some preliminary geophysics surveys, and I've identified 2 large-scale near-surface geophysical anomalies that will be an early focus as we begin to allocate capital towards exploration and resource expansion. We're well positioned on the cost curve, and our progress is substantial. Again, we're looking to come into production in the second half of 2025, and the construction is well advanced in the processing facility, as well as in the underground, where rehabilitation and development has accessed the first 3 to 5 years of the mine life already. Our capital structure is supported with some major institutions and strategic shareholders, and the majority of our financing has been provided up to this point by Sprott Royalty and Streaming, where you can see the details surrounding that existing financing and capital structure as it exists right now. We see and believe that there is significant revaluation potential as we transition successfully through the development phase and into operation in the back half of 2025. Supported by a strong team, Richard Williams, former Chief Operating Officer at Barrick Gold, myself, who came from Barrick Gold as well, Erbrand van Erden, our Chief Financial Officer, Tom Francis, our General Manager, Brenda Dayton, our VP of Investor Relations, and Nick Dunnick, VP of Business Development. All supported by a fantastic board with strategic partners who are rock solid and are really working to bring this mine into production. And I think with that, I'll open it up to any questions that anybody has. And this is just a recent picture inside of the processing facility as we're progressing on construction. Alina, over to you for any questions that anyone might have.
Okay, well, thanks, Sam. Thank you for introducing us to Bunker Hill. So we can get started on the questions. Just a reminder to everyone on the line, you can type your questions into the chat box at any time. So Sam, we have a couple of questions here already. How much of the CapEx do you still have left to spend?
Right now, from a CapEx perspective, and just to give you a sense of project completion, right around 98% of the procurement has been accomplished to date. From a percentage standpoint, that sets us at a project completion of around 65 to 70% in that neighborhood. And that should give a flavor of both the remaining work and the remaining expenditure required.
Okay, you talked about the expansion. What does the capital budget look like for that? And what's the timing on that?
Yeah, so certainly the way that we're looking at that right now is in a couple of different ways. One route is that the free cash flow generated from the site would be able, over time, to fund that capital expenditure. Alternatively, we are also engaged with the EXIM Bank, which is the Import-Export Bank from the United States, looking at accelerating that project through EXIM financing, which would be long-term, low-interest financing, directly supporting a project like ours, which is bringing domestic critical metals into the North American supply chain. So there's two avenues that we're looking at in terms of financing that expansion. But to give a scale and a scope of the capital required for that project, it's at a desktop study level right now. So certainly more technical work to do, but we're estimating that is around $40 to $50 million.
Okay. You talked about some of the regional exploration work on some of those targets. Is that something that you're planning on this year?
That certainly comes down to a capital allocation decision. We would certainly like to, but the number one priority for the company right now is completing the construction process, getting into free cash flow, and then allocating capital as it becomes available to the most value-creating projects. Certainly, exploration is near the top of that list for capital allocation.
Okay. When is dry and wet commissioning?
Again, we're in the construction process right now. So dry commissioning will be in the second half of 2025, with wet commissioning to follow. At this point, don't want to be too much more specific than that, but we are happy with the progress that we're making along that construction path. At this point, certainly projecting to be in production in the second half of 2025.
Okay. How much ROM will be on stock before startup?
Can you repeat that question? I believe you said how much ore would be in stockpile before we begin operation.
Yeah. So how much of a buffer will you have before you start up in terms of material?
So the underground actually right now is beginning the process of stockpiling ore as we do the initial development and rehabilitation into the stoping areas. From an exact tonnage standpoint, I believe that our latest plans showed that we would have between 50 and 60,000 tons of ore available to be fed into the mill at the point of mill commissioning.
Okay. Sam, on one of your earlier slides, you had you had the EPA up there. Can you sort of maybe go into a bit more detail about what that partnership looks like?
Yes, absolutely. So the Bunker Hill mine operated continuously for 100 years, and we spoke about it being in a U.S. Superfund site, which means that the EPA facilitated remediation of the historic environmental degradation that took place related to mining. One of those areas, and one of the specific areas that the EPA has done a fantastic job on, is acid mine drainage. And so there is currently today 1,500 gallons a minute that comes out of the underground mine that requires treatment before it's ultimately discharged back into the environment. And we have, as articulated in the consent decree, there is an ongoing obligation for Bunker Hill to pay its portion of that water treatment cost. That water treatment cost is right around $100,000 a month. And so the partnership is one in which the water that has been degraded as a result of historic mining activities is transported to a water treatment facility that's owned by the EPA and operated by the state of Idaho, with Bunker Hill contributing its proportion of the operating cost on an ongoing basis.
Okay, Sam, I think that's it for the Q&A. So I just want to thank you for taking time to host this webinar with us today.
Thank you very much, Elena. And I would just, I would also let anybody who would like to have meet us in person. We will be in Toronto next week at both the Red Cloud event and PDAC, and look forward to meeting anyone who has joined in the call and would like to meet in person in Toronto next week. Thank you very much.
Okay, just as a reminder for our audience, our next webinar will feature Wolf Energy, and that's on Feb 24th at 9 a.m. Eastern. Thanks for tuning in with us, everyone. Have a great day.